I'm keen to link you up to sort of current day. Deadlock has just come out, just done the media tour for it. And interesting story because you wrote it and then auditioned for the role and kind of didn't really think you were going to get it and then got it.
Disclaimer, please don't spoil it because I'm up to episode 4.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Your partner's just been eaten by a crocodile.
Oh, mate, I know. Bullshit.
Sorry, I feel like you've just spoiled it for anyone who's not up to episode 4.
We can edit that out.
Eaten by a croc. So I started out as a writer on the show. I've known the Cates for years. They asked me actually many years ago to direct one of their, so they did web series for a while, and we had the Skype back when we used Skype just before Breaker Operas, and they asked for me to come and direct them in the show Get Cracking, which is like a piss take of morning TV, and I instantly fell in love with them. I was like, oh my god, these women are hilarious and their sense of humour and everything. But then we got funding for Breaker Operas, so the timing didn't work. And then through the years, I sort of became friends with them both online. Like we'd pen pals, online pen pals.
In your Bebo top 5.
Yeah, my Bebo top 5. My MySpace top 8. And then I think what happened, I would do little parts in their things. Rachel House and I did a little part where we recorded some sort of live cross to them in Australia for their morning TV show. We played a couple of characters doing some weird story, and I never met them in real life. And then the pandemic happened. They got the funding to do Deadlock, and they were like, would you write an episode? And I think initially they asked if Jackie and I could do it together, but then Jackie had something else to do. And I was like, I have got to make this work. Like, it's been too long. I need to work with these women. I just will follow them wherever they go. I think they're geniuses. And so I started writing on it, but it was like during the pandemic, during COVID, so it was all virtual writers' rooms, and it was just kind of online back and forth. And then the opportunity to audition for it came up, and I thought it was a joke. I thought they were playing a prank on me. I was like, what the fuck, you guys? This is a joke. And they're like, nah, mate, we've been thinking about you. And it's funny too, because when you're writing, you sort of have an idea of the character in your head, and it definitely didn't look like me, Eddie, in my head. I thought it was like some really, aged, I think even in the scripts originally she was described as like this kind of aged white woman with like, rosacea, and like, she definitely had too many beers the night before every,
I got that role. Oh, okay.
And I just imagine this like leathery kind of really ochre like woman, like the kind who's just got like a parrot that she yells at, and she's always smoking cigarettes on a porch. And then, so I auditioned for both the leads. And I went in and I really focused on the other character, because I was like, oh man, I think I might want to play the queer character, who's a bit straight. I think that'd be kind of a cool challenge. So I didn't put any effort into the Eddie audition. I went in, I had papers like that, and I was reading the script off the page and just kind of throwing it all away. And apparently that was perfect energy for the part.
Genius.
Yeah, because it got me the part. I was didn't give a shit, and that was the energy I needed.
That's the lesson.
Yeah,
it's great energy. Like it's I've not, again, I feel like I've blown smoke up your ass twice today, but I fucking love it. It's an amazing show. Great concept. It's kooky. It's got kind of White Lotus vibes to it as well. I really, really enjoy it. I'm trying not to binge it in like a day, but
it's been an amazing response to it. I mean, I think as a writer, when I was working on it, I was like, how are these two genres going to work? Because surely one will, trump the other, or like, how do you make it funny but then also keep the suspense going? And I think what the Cates ended up doing, because in the end, I mean, with the writing of it, they ended up realizing, because they brought a bunch of writers on, and then, it was kind of the process was interesting in that, like, I was writing episode 5, and I'd write to, like a treatment, write that out, and then by the time they got to give me notes, they'd given notes on eps 1 to 4, and so many things had to change because of the crime story, and you're having to kind of put the intricate pieces of this crime story into place. So then I was having to write a completely different episode 5, and so I did a couple of drafts, and then the Cates pretty much realized, they were like, oh, we have to write this whole thing because we're the only ones that have it all in here. And we can't, like each writer can't know what's changing in each episode. So they basically ended up kind of like writing the whole thing in the end. And that was good for me because I ended up trying to focus on the acting side of things. But I think they did a really good job of making a really thrilling, suspenseful crime show that also has so much comedy in it, and then like underneath that all the layers of like political commentary as well. And it's kind of a new genre, I guess, or what they've done. It's quite, and I think it was really funny, the response to the show. Initially, like a lot of people like, it's quite hard for them to, because some people are watching it because they've been told it's a crime show, and then my character comes along and they're like, what the fuck's going on here? Like, what show are we in now? Because Dulcie's so serious and then my character's such a kook. And then some people are watching it for the comedy and are like, the crime's jarring for them. So it's like, and then as the sort of show gets on and you're like about halfway through, it just gets more sort of tense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
End of episode 3 last night was tense. It really was. The other thing as well, similarities to, I hate drawing too many comparisons to The White Lotus, but any show where there's a cock and balls in like the first 5 minutes of episode 1
hooks you in.
It really does.
It really tells you what the show's going to be, I think, in the first like 5 minutes of Deadlock.
Yeah.
It's like these.
I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah. How graphic, full.
Yeah.
Oh, you can make out everything,
Yeah.
Nice.
It's. I mean, I think what's so clever about the show is that it takes this genre that we all know well and it upends so much of it, so many of the stereotypes. So you're kind of in it and taking the piss out of it, and then you're also somehow along for a really thrilling like murder mystery as well. So you're like, it's kind of very clever, the layering of what the Cates have done, and I think they're geniuses, and everyone should give them all the money to make whatever the fuck they want.
Yeah, they're very good. I just spent the drive up from Hamilton this morning working through the suspect list. I'm trying to be very tiptoey around ruining it for anybody.
Yeah.
But the suspect list now, going, I wonder if it was, or maybe it could be. So yeah, I'm hooked.
Yeah,
I'm all in.
And the end of Ep 3 is so good for that too, because you're just like, what?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh shit.
Okay, that changes the dynamic.
Is there a weird feedback loop? Because you got Double Parked out as well, and it takes people a while, obviously, to get through shows.
Yeah.
So is it kind of just like trickle through to you every day? Someone else like, oh, I just finished a show, amazing.
Yeah.
Is it kind of a weird.
There was like an explosion over the weekend, I think, of people finishing Deadlock, and there's like an obsessive. There's been a really excessive explosion of like love for the show and those characters, and there's like fanfic and there's like artwork every day, and like
really,
that's cool.
It's really cool. Yeah, it's really cool.
And you hear, I mean, people talking about it. People say, "Oh shit, that sounds good." And
and a lot of people, I think a lot of people are sort of waiting for all the episodes to drop as well, and so there's new people watching it every day. So my mentions are like going nuts. But there's a real like, there's so much love for the show. It's so cool, and Double Parked again is like at a different sort of level. But I think it's also. The two shows, I guess, I mean, there's not a lot in common with either of them. Double Parked is a very different show, just me playing quite different characters. But I think that, people, for there to be that kind of representation, I think is really important for people. So there's definitely like, they're both refreshing in that way, and that we're seeing like a different perspective, on something. On the Deadlock side, it's like the people that are usually the victims are not in Deadlock. They're usually the victims in these shows, and they're not. And it's like telling the story from that perspective. And then Double Parked is like, you usually see a show about a heterosexual couple having a baby instead of a lesbian couple having two at once. And, so I think it's refreshing storytelling on both sides. And I think that's what people are responding to.